Hey guys, it's Kelsey and I'm back with another scrapbooking process video. This is another sketch that I'm doing for Chrissy's Beautiful Life, 30 days of sketches. I really like this sketch. I love that there were two square photos. I was planning on having two square photos, but then once I kind of found what I wanted to scrapbook, if I trimmed down the 4x6, it kind of would have trimmed off part of Maverick's head, whether it been his nose or his ears. So I decided just to leave that one a 4x6 and just change the sketch a little bit in that way. But I'm starting off by trying to figure out which layers I want to be which in the sketch. I love this multicolor scallop that comes in the Hannah collection. I believe this was the first paper I used when I used the Hannah collection the first time I had it. So I think it's kind of funny that it's one of the last pages that I'm getting done with it this time around. But I love all the different tones of pink. I love the pop of gray. I love the hint of the wood grain. So I definitely wanted to pull in some more wood grain. And then I just am really trying to make this monochromatic with all of the different pink tones. I have a lot of pink scraps left over, so I'm really trying to take advantage of that by using them in the layers this way. I'm starting out by getting the big horizontal rectangular layer down where the photos are going to sit. I decided to take the wood grain and use it as a mat behind the white and pink diagonal stripe. And I think that's a nice little simple block to start building from. And now I'm trying to figure out which pieces are going to run along the top of the page. There's two pieces that are cut at a slant, and I think they look really cool stacked up like that. So I do have a chunk of the solid pink. They're double-sided, so one side is a light pink, one side is a dark pink. I'm just cutting two strips of that, and I'm going to have one of each color stacked up there to create that angled look, and I think that looks really cool. So I'm just trying to space that out, get that glued down, and then I realized the huge chunk's going to be covered up there, so I couldn't help myself. I had to trim off a piece of the background so I could save it in case I needed it on a future layout. But yeah, just deciding to go through some other scraps I have. Wait, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm getting the backing down so I can then glue the scraps onto the top. So I'm just recreating the 12 by 12 framework so I can glue stuff back down onto it. But yeah, I'm trying to just get this how I had it pretty much. But I think that looks just like the sketch, so I'm going to go ahead and get that stuff glued down. But once I kind of have that figured out, I then have the base for my sketch. There is a big scalloped detail that runs across the layers on the bottom of the page, so I do need to figure out what I want to do for that. But other than that, that's pretty much the sketch, and then I can kind of do what I want from there. But here I am just getting the glue tape off of there to glue those all down. I think I ended up flip-flopping what colors I wanted where. I thought I was going to have the light pink on top and the darker pink on the bottom, but whenever I flip-flopped it, for whatever reason, I liked it better. So that's why the darker pink's on the top now, but I do like how that looks. I think that's kind of cool. I can't remember, here I am with the my scrap I want to do the large scallop on. I wanted to pull the same dark pink to the lower part of the page because that diagonal stripe is the same light pink that I already have at the top, so I wanted some more of the dark pink down there too. But I need to create a large scallop. I have a scallop border punch I could have used, but it's a tiny little scallop, and I thought the tiny scallop would have kind of gotten lost with this background scale pattern. So I'm just doing a trick that I started doing, I don't know when, but I kind of improvised to create a large scallop. What I'm doing is I'm taking a roll of washi tape and I'm tracing it a bunch of times on the back of the paper, and I'm just going to fussy cut it. And that gives you nice uniform scallopy circles. So I'm just going to fussy cut that really quick and then trim that down into more of a border strip like it is in the sketch. And that's going to be that design element down there. But I'm always kind of surprised how easy that works out for me. And it doesn't really take that long either. But as you can see, I'm just trying to trim it down to about the size it was in the sketch. And that's going to be a nice horizontal piece. I really like that part when it's included in a sketch because I like having that horizontal bit that kind of grounds the rest of my layers. So it kind of looks like my photos have somewhere to sit and they're just not like floating around on the page. But before I glue it all down, I had to gut some of these other bits that I knew were going to be covered. A large chunk of that rectangular bit is covered by the two photos. And I could not bear to cover up that much wood grain. So I did just save that, but I will glue down this pink diagonal stripe. I can't remember if I think I got more of that pink diagonal too once I figure out how much is going to be covered. But for right now, at least, I can get all of these bits glued down, and then my photos are just going to sit on there like that. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to mat the photos in yet. I'm kind of getting down into my scraps. I don't have a whole lot left, so I ended up going for another piece of the vellum. I think this is my last full sheet of vellum that Kelly had sent me, so I'm going to use that to mat my photos. I've actually been doing that a lot this month. I've been using the vellum to mat my photos. I think it looks super nice with either collection. It just adds a nice soft layery detail without being distracting with a different color or having to use my pattern paper for that. So that was really nice. And I'm even gutting my vellum. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of like vellum scraps by the end of this month because I even have been gutting that, but I couldn't bear covering up that much because do you know how much I could do with that piece that I just got? I could use that for a banner, to stamp something, to die cut something. I could use it to heat and stamp emboss something on it. So I couldn't keep that covered. So I'm going to go ahead and get this glued down. This is actually the only photo mat I end up doing. I think because the background is this multicolored scale, I have all these different pinks going on. It's not too crazy of a design, but because it's all monochromatic and you have the scale background, I didn't want it to look too busy. It kind of does a little bit in the end, but not bad. I think it's kind of fun. But I think by having the vellum mat and really kind of leaving this as the paper layers, it helps it not be busier than it could have been. But yeah, I kind of need to figure out embellishment now. I have my main base design for this layout, so I'm just going to go through what I have left over. I definitely want to try and get at least one pocket card used up, so I'm going through those to try and figure out what's in the color scheme. Again, just pulling out anything that's pink. I'm also going through the ephemera bits. I noticed I had all three of the glitter rose gold ephemera bits left over, so I'm going to try and get all three of them used up here. And I also have a bunch of the florals from the die cuts that I haven't used yet, so I pulled those out as well to see if I could get those on a page, but I'm just going to fussy cut the top of this card. It has a cute little tab detail, and I really wanted that to show, so I really like having that bit trimmed out. And then I have this really cute little journaling card that looks like a piece of notebook paper. I really don't need to do journaling on this page, so I'm just going to use it as a layering bit, but I think those two pocket cards look really nice layered up together. And it kind of creates this height behind the 4x4 that kind of reaches up to the 4x6's height, so it's not so wonky and asymmetrical. And I like how that height is achieved by two different ways versus having just two 4x6 photos. But I'm compelled to put a little cluster in the upper left hand corner here. The sketch does not have anything over there. It does have the title on the bottom right part of the top bit of the page. Excuse me, but with these florals, I just really felt like I needed something up there, and I'm wanting to create this cluster with this tag on the lower right side of the photo, so I feel like that would be balanced really well, especially if I'm going to be incorporating the rose gold glitter and a floral. I just thought immediately that creates a nice diagonal for your eye to follow the two embellishment clusters with your photo in the middle. But I'm really liking how that's looking, so I'm going to start gluing some of this stuff down. This one came together surprisingly really quick, but I feel like that always happens when I get towards the end of a collection. I seem to work a lot faster because I just don't have as much to work with, so it kind of, things are what they are, and I just use them like that. I think I'm trying to figure out my spacing here so I can see how much of that pink diagonal stripe is going to be covered. I'm going to glue my photos together really quick so they don't continue to shift, but I do believe I got the diagonal bit that's going to be behind there. And then I get to start gluing things down. I haven't really pulled in from any of the little extra bits that Kelly sent me, all these cute little wood veneer and the epoxy stickers and stuff. So I do want to get around to that, but for right now I'm really trying to focus on my bits from the Hannah collection to see where I want everything. But really quick, just gutting that diagonal paper. That's a nice little chunk I can use for something else. And then I'll get the photos glued down. I think that's the last thing I have to gut though, so hopefully the gutting is done and I can just create my page. I know some people like seeing how much I can save, and some people are like, stop gutting and just glue it down, so I completely understand. But it's Hannah and I can't help myself, I need to gut them, so getting all of this glued down. Always looks crazy on the back when I see the back of the layers after I've gut everything, it just looks like a mess. Am I gutting more? I am gutting more. I'm going to gut the scale that's behind the photo. But I love that chunk too. It's so pretty. That multicolored scallopy background is so cool. And there was a huge chunk that was hidden. You guys can't fault me for this one because that's a giant chunk. I had to save at least that piece. I do believe I got the back of this too. At this point, I really just should have backed the entire background with one of these black papers, but I didn't know how much I was going to gut and where in the beginning. So I'm going to go back and gut this hole, or patch this hole again with another piece of black. I really do find this helps with the stability of the page, but you don't have to do this. A lot of my pages I don't bother because once they're in the page protector in my album, I don't have any issues with stability. But especially like a piece like this where I already put glue all over the backing of all of these scraps, I really need something through that hole for all that glue to attach to. Otherwise there'd be all this adhesive just hanging out back there. But now all my layers are down. I do like this tag in the bottom right corner. I just threaded it with some plain white twine from my stash. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down and have that be the base for that little cluster. And I just like adding and getting that gold glitter, the rose gold glitter used up. And then I did pop this floral up on some foam, so there's a little bit of dimension. And I'm just going to tuck that right around the word that says today on the tag. I really like that little detail that's on the tag, so I didn't want to cover it up. But it just nestles around that little word. And I think that's a nice little touch. If I can get it on there we go. And then now for my cluster on the upper left-hand corner, again, I want to pull in one of the rose gold elements. So I'm going to take the little tab. This floral kind of covers up a large part of this tab if I place it directly on top. So I am going to trim the tab into two parts and just stretch it behind the floral so it's not covered as much, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. But again, I popped that floral up on some foam so there's some dimension to match the other floral. I'm trimming this little die cut and I'm just going to stack it on either side of this floral bit just so you can see more of it. If I hadn't done that, you'd hardly see any of it because it's almost the same size as that floral. But I just love that detail, and I love that that brings that glitter, to different parts of the page. I have this third element that also has the gold glitter, so I was forcing myself to get it on here. So I decided just to tuck it to the left side of the 4x6. I really didn't need this third cluster. I was very happy with the two that I had, but I just thought it would be wasteful to not take the opportunity while I'm using these glitter embellishments to get this very last one on here. So again, I'm just threading it with a plain white twine, and I do like that because that kind of bounces that thread element and puts that texture somewhere else. But I do want to have a couple other tiny elements that are now sprinkled in all three of these areas just to tie them all together. So I'm pretty happy with what I got used up from the Hannah stuff, so I'm moving more towards the extras that Kelly included. I'm thinking about maybe some of the pink epoxy hearts that are left from the Elizabeth collection, but there's also a whole bunch of wood grain goodness that I really wanted to pull something from, just because again, these are outdoor photos and I love using wood grain when I do horse layouts, so I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do there. I did find some more wood grain hearts, so I thought those would be perfect. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking of, but right away I definitely wanted to get some more of these cork arrows on here. I love how those look, and especially when I'm using a wood grain that's already a brown earthy tone, I just like accentuating it with wood grain and cork. So I'm just I think I only get 2 arrows on here, but there's one on either side of the photo, so I really like how it frames it with that. And then now I think I'm going in with some of the wood grain hearts. And I think I do go in with the pink epoxy hearts too, but I just love that mix match of texture. There's a lot of texture that's not super in your face. It's kind of in the small details, but I love that there's glitter and wood grain and epoxy and cork, and it just, you know, it looks really nice together, the mix match of the different textures and dimensions. So I'm just trying to get all of that glued down. This is really finicky work. My nails are starting to grow out really long. I can't remember the last time my nails were this long, so it takes a minute to get these tiny little hearts placed down. But after I get this down, I think I go back with, there's a dot left of that same pink color that I used for the epoxy hearts. So I did decide just to get that little dot in that last small cluster as well, just so there's a pink thing in each of these 3 clusters too. And again, that was super finicky because it's so tiny. I do just want to note that this is Kennesaw Mountain, so I do write that in the little tab of the pocket card, and then I still need to do a title. So I'm just going to go through my white foam alphabets. I love using this white foam alphabet with the Hannah collection this month. I've used it, I think, on most of the layouts. But I'm just looking at it really quick so I don't make the same mistake I made last time where I started a title and didn't have enough letters. But I did have enough to do the one I wanted to do. This trail ride was at Kennesaw Mountain's battlefield. So there's basically a trail that goes around the whole, or through the whole mountain. I say mountain. If you look at Kennesaw Mountain in Georgia, it's more like a big hill. I know when I visit other states and they have like real mountains, my mountain looks like a little joke. You can literally hike to the top and it's like 1 mile. But yeah, I'm going to just put that down. So I have, I don't need to do too much journaling because I have where I am through my title. And I just wanted to get these 2 pictures scrapped. This is me and Maverick. And I just thought it was really cool because you go past some of the monuments that are there. And they still have cannons set out on the trail. So I just have a photo of Maverick and I next to one of the cannons, which I thought was really cool. So I really wanted to get these 2 photos done. But here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.